They called him the Shining One. Baldur, son of Odin and Frigg, walked the halls of Asgard like a living promise, gentle, radiant, beloved. Tales say even stones leaned toward him, and birds sang truer when he passed. Gods who bickered and warriors who feuded would find their anger melting in his presence. Peace followed his footsteps as surely as shadow follows light. This love frightened his mother. Frigg, queen of the gods, could not bear the thought of losing such perfection. So she did what a mother does when faced with unbearable risk. She tried to remove it. She traveled from the highest peak to the lowliest root, calling the world to answer her oath. To every creature she spoke, to every river and fire, to metal and wood, to beasts and stones dust. She made them vow never to harm Baldur. Each object gave its pledge, and Baldur soon became invulnerable. The gods discovered something miraculous. Darts and spears glanced harmlessly off him. Even blades could not pierce his skin. Games of harmless cruelty turned into revelry. The Aesir delighted in hurling all manner of weapons at Baldur, cheering as each missile rebounded, and their laughter rose like bright bells across the hall. But the world keeps a balance. In myth, as in life, no perfection exists without shadow. Among the gods, there was one who reveled in mischief and malice both. Loki, a shapeshifter, equal parts cleverness and spite. He watched the gladness of Asgard and felt a cold amusement. If the gods could laugh without fear, then the order of things, chaos and consequence, might be undermined. Loki chose a cruelty that would whisper itself into legend. He learned the secret Frigg had overlooked. She had taken oaths from all things she could think to ask, but in her wide worry, she had underestimated what seemed trivial. The mistletoe, a tender sprig growing between two trees, had been too small and too innocent to command. Frigg had passed it by, thinking it harmless, or perhaps considering it beneath the dignity of her plea. That tiny oversight would become a wound that could not heal. Loki fashioned a dart from the mistletoe and courted Baldur's blind brother, Höðr. Höðr was gentle, pious, more comfortable in the quiet of thought than the raucous games in Odin's hall. He had not joined the others in throwing stones and spears. Being blind, he could not aim, and so he remained on the sidelines, while the gods hurled their harmless weapons at their shining kin. Loki approached him not as an enemy, but with the practiced friendliness of a man who knows how to bend trust. He sowed a seed of manipulation. He praised the sport, insisted that Höðr's strength should not be wasted, and offered to guide his arm. Höðr, wanting only to please and to be part of a world that had never felt easy, accepted. Loki handed him the mistletoe dart, the only thing that held no oath against Baldur. With a single throw, guided by deceit, the tiny sprig struck the unshielded heart of the shining god. Baldur fell. Silence followed like a falling curtain. The music of Asgard faltered, then broke. Mothers wept, warriors cursed, and even stone seemed to bow with sorrow. Frigg's pride and protection proved vain. Her single misjudgment had been enough. The gods mourned as if the world itself had been wounded. They tried to change fate. Tears became a river, and the gods sent messengers to plead with every being to weep for Baldur, to coax him back from the realm of the dead. Giants and elves and men wept. Even seemingly cold elements softened. For a time, hope glimmered that grief might be reversed. Hope, however, was fragile. Loki's laughter had not been idle. The death of Baldur set in motion ancient reckonings. The bonds of trust were split. Vengeance and suspicion grew where once there had been innocence. Höðr, manipulated into murder, became both victim and instrument. Loki's hand would not be idle. His chains would end with fire and flood. Baldur's death proved a harbinger, the crack that widened into Ragnarok, the doom of gods. The bright world he had once lighted dimmed, and from his fall sprung the inevitable collapse of the old order. In the austere silence after the loss, the tale that endured was not only of a god felled by a forgotten leaf, it was the story of the smallest thing unguarded, the overlooked mistletoe, and how a single lapse, a single cunning act, can undo a world's joy. The memory of Baldur remains a lament carved into myth, that even light can be pierced by something as small as a lie, and that love, however wide, can be undone by something overlooked.